Hi, good morning everybody. Today we are going to be making a head demo model in vectary. So I've put in my reference pictures by dragging them in, making sure that in menu under settings the X-ray shading mode is off, so that I can see them in edit mode, and made sure they're aligned. Good reference picture is reference images are the most important thing, making sure they're the same size, that they're proportional to each other. So very, very important. All right. So what we are going to do is we're going to go into edit mode, we're going to select the box, and we're going to guesstimate a little bit here on how big this is going to be. So there we go. Click and click. All right, so there's a box. Now, what we need most of all is to make sure that we are going to have the right number of segments to start off. Again, we want to start fairly simple, but not too simple, because vectary is a little bit more of a pain in the butt to add edge loops in. So what we are going to do is go depth segment first, all right? And we're going to want 4 on that, all right? For the height segments, 2 will do, all right? And then on the width segment, 2 will do as well, okay? So, just like in the other ones, we are going to be doing a half of the face and then duplicating it and putting it back together so that we have a perfectly symmetrical face. All right, so once we have that, that's excellent. I can just click out of there and then sort of like go into the actual modes and scale. There we go. Lovely how it just pops into that mode. Again, it does not need to be perfect by any means, but a good start is always a good thing. So, and we're gonna move this to the center so it's perfectly centered on the face. All right, looks good that way. We're gonna come around. Oh. And we're gonna go into this mode and we're gonna pull back. That looks pretty good. Again, I think I'm gonna scale it down just a little bit. Okay. Okay. Just a little bit. I'm gonna make it a little narrower. Okay. So from here, we are going to go into the face selection mode, and we can do marquee or lasso or anything. So I'm going to hit M for marquee, and I'm just going to select this half of the face. Didn't want to get those. Okay. Command Z. Command Shift Z. There we go. So M for marquee. Grab them. All right. Loop. Okay, so we have half of this, right? Perfectly together. Now what we want to do is start by sort of defining the overall shape here. The first thing that I'm going to do is move this edge loop, All right, so I'm going to double click, select that edge, click off, and I'm going to move this so that this is defining where the nose is, basically. Excellent. All right. From here on out, we're going to start defining sort of the overall shape of the head. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to M for marquee. I'm doing a vertex selection here, and I'm just going to move this up. All right. M for marquee, selecting multiple vertexes, move those down, okay? All right, let's figure out the shape of this chin, all right? And so M for marquee, you could also use the lasso, and I'm just gonna move this in based on my picture, getting the overall angle of where that chin is turning. All right, M for marquee. Perfect. M for marquee again. Got this. Oops, gotta zoom in on. Sometimes gotta pan down. All right. So this is not going to be perfect, and sometimes you have to go a little bit out from where you want to be. It's going to be over-exaggerated a little bit when it's blocky, so you want to have it out from the edge a little bit. So maybe I'll just bring this one out just a touch. Okay, so that's the overall shape of the head going this direction, all right? We have the upper half of the face and the lower half of the face. Now, one thing that I do want to do is get this edge loop. Okay. I could also do this by going in here, grabbing all of these vertexes. So M for marquee, again, because it selects all of them in a row, and I want to line this up with the eye. All right. So the overall shape here, right? I'm going to bring this below, you can see, I want this line sort of below the eye socket, and you'll see why in a minute. So based on that, I do have to refigure out the shape here. But that looks pretty good. Now, popping into the side view here, you can see that it's not looking great. So what we need to do is start defining the shape going this direction. So everything's not quite as in line as in the first direction. That's fine. So we are going to M for marquee, select. All right. So I should have come in and done some adjustments beforehand because this is too wide, but M for marquee. All right. Okay. So even if you screw up, it's not that big a deal because you can just go back and edit in vertex mode. So Excellent. So that's a good overall shape. Okay. Now what I want to do is create some roundedness to this shape. So this is on sort of the outer extremes, all right? But what I want to do is select these middle edges and sort of bring it out a bit, all right? Oops. There we go. So you can see, oops, that it does look different if you're not in your side view. So make sure you are in your side view. So that's the neck right there. So I'm going to start bringing this up to the base of the nape. So I'm going to angle that in. I might go ahead and angle this up as well in a minute. All right, that looks pretty good. So now, as I was saying, we want to bring in these sort of front and back, bring those out or bring these in based on what you want to do. So, for instance, I can click on each. And I'm going to push those out a touch. Okay, so you can see I didn't get my last one, so I'm going to Command Z that. And make sure I get that guy. Push back into that. And push that forward. And that's just going to create a little bit more of an angle. All right, I can also come through here and take these and push that back, sort of to where the edge of the cheekbone would be. All right, so you can see you're creating the sort of the front slant of the face there, okay? Nice. Coming back here, we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna select 6 vertexes here. Again, you can do a loop, you can shift click. Oh, why don't I do a lasso to do this quickly? Oops, and I didn't get that one, so I'm gonna shift, add it to my selection, go back into side view, and pull it out a little bit. All right, excellent. So this brings us to the fact that you really can't do good modeling, good organic modeling, unless you go in and adjust individual vertices. Command C, I'm gonna get 2 of those, marquee N, there's 2 there. All right. So this is way easier to do when you have not a ton of vertexes. So thus, why we want to start off with the bare minimum of subdivisions. All right, and always check it from multiple angles. All right, that looks not bad. I think I could move up this vertex. Oops, Command Z, wrong one. I could probably move up both of these vertexes. Again. So why don't I just move them up at the same time? Right. Perfect. That's looking great. Maybe bring that one in a little touch. Perfect. All right. Now the side here is still a little flat, so back in here. All right. So you can see, right, this sort of side here. So what I want to do is I'm going to move this guy out a little bit. Maybe his buddy is up here as well. All right. To create a little bit of roundedness to the side. Or, based on where yours are at, maybe we'll bring these in a little bit. This one needs to go a little bit further forward, it looks like. But you can see the overall shape is coming together. All right, so there you have a more rounded shape. Okay, so on to the second part, doing the features. What we are going to be doing is, you notice we've divided these into two areas, the forehead and the eyes, and then the nose sort of area and the mouth. So what we are going to be doing is we will be starting off with the eyes and the mouth and creating sort of loops therein. All right, so to do so, okay, so now if you notice, if you look at models, there will be sort of like edge loops that loop around the eye socket and around the mouth. So we're going to do two extrusions in order to do this. So first of all, we're going to grab this face right here. We are going to hit extrude, or E. Okay, we're going to pull it out just a little bit, teeny tiny bit, all right? And then we are going to scale it in, okay? So you can see that this is going to be our eye socket. Okay, excellent. Now we are going to try and make that the general size and shape of the eye. Okay. Now, the bummer here is that X-ray mode we had to turn off because, you know, because it wasn't working. So what we can do for a minute is just sort of guesstimate here. So first of all, I'm going to try and select this edge and just sort of like move this based on the other eye. So I can get a general sort of like shape of the eye. All right, and I can also switch over here and shaded into wired for a second and just go ahead and edit in there for a minute as well in order to really get that where we want for the shape of the eye. Again, it's not going to be perfect, certainly, but we're going to get the overall positioning of the eye. Excellent. So that's pretty good right there. And now if we tumble to the side, right, you can see that it's certainly out of place. So we're going to select these, right? So the eye socket is back from the ridge of the face. So this is why it's so important to have really good reference. All right, so that's significantly better in terms of the placement of the eye. And it's going to take a fair amount of going back and forth. Alrighty, that got way screwed up there. Let me show you that so you can see that it does go weird sometimes. So let's Command Z, see what I did. So that one went the wrong direction. So let's try that one again. Much better. All right, and you'll notice as I go back in here into shaded that the eye socket is really, really deep. All right, so that's telling us that this sort of outer cheekbone needs to go back. So you could do this with the edge, or you can do that with the vertexes, either way. Excellent. We are certainly getting there. All right. And maybe pull that forward just a bit. All right, and maybe I'll just bring that forward a touch. There we go. Being more happy with that. Okay, so that's going to be my eye socket right there. Let's talk about the over the mouth here, right? So I can add an extra edge loop here and here, and that would add more geometry so I can move those points around, you know, each individually. But let's start and get all of the basics in here. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's talk about the mouth. All right, so what we are going to do here, this is probably the hardest part, is we're going to select the muzzle area. That's what we call here. We are going to hit E to extrude, click, and scale in. Oops, doesn't seem to have worked. E, just pull out a tiny bit, click. All right, there we go. So we've got this edge loop in. All right, that's going to be the mouth. All right, so we are going to first sort of scale and move over and scale and push it out, all that sort of stuff. All right, to get the general shape of the mouth. But what happens is that we have right here this little dude. So we are going to get rid of this. We're going to delete it. All right. And we're going to select this edge. We can do snapping. All right. And snap to middle. Or snap to grid. But basically, we're just trying to get this back in line with everything else so that there's not an extra loop. So now we have quads 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And before we had like an extra loop in here, which was weird. All right, it was sort of the side there. Excellent. So now that mouth is much better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move things so that it's around the mouth area. One goes into edit mode for the vertexes, so we can do that. Okay, so I've got that the way I want it. I'd go into the other one. Okay, and let's go ahead and select these two in advance and go into wired. All right, so you can see we need to do some adjusting to the overalls here, right? So the edge of the face is not quite lining up. M for marquee to get both of these. Excellent. M for marquee. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make an edge loop around the sort of the overall lips. face. And while I'm over here, I'll continue to make some adjustments because let's face it, the chin is way out of line. So I'm gonna go in and fix where that is, right? I'm gonna come in here. Oops. All right, M for marquee. And move where that is. This does not have to be as crazy out there because the bridge of the nose is going to come out from the face. So that looks significantly better. Small adjustments, small adjustments. Just do them as you see them, right? But always going back. All right, and for marquee, you can see this one's way out of line in terms of the lower jaw. So I'm just gonna bring that back. All right. Checking things out from the back, looks fine. Looking good, much better. All right, turn on my shaded to check it out that way. Looking pretty good. All right, looking pretty good. Now it looks like, yeah, so it looks like this one got out of line. So I'm just gonna bring that back into line there. Excellent. Okay. M for marquee. That one looks a little weird. I'm just gonna bring that back in a little bit. Excellent. So those are our two edge loops. Our two major edge loops. We'll also do the same for the ear. We can extrude those in and then extrude it out, okay? But let's talk about this nose, all right? So the basic shape here is that we are going to extrude out, all right, this plane, all right, these planes. So we are going to do that. We're going to overall. Do I want to do this first? Why don't I do this first? So the eye socket is a little uncomplicated right now. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to go use my draw lines, all right? And I'm going to sort of hand draw my edge flow. And this is actually surprisingly easy because there's not that much going on in terms of the edge flow yet, right? So I'm just trying to keep it nicely subdivided, keeping it fairly even, right? Nothing going jaggedly in one direction, like dramatically. Cool. Make sure, cool. And we'll finish that off. Excellent. And I'll press enter to accept those changes. All right. So once I add edge loops there, right, you can see that I can go ahead and move edges around in order to add some definition. All right. Now, if I were to add edge loops in this direction, right, I would have to go through here, right, and through the mouth. That's probably a good idea, actually. So let's go do that while we're at it. So I'm going to continue with my draw lines. I'm going to, where do I want to start this? This is a little less obvious. Alrighty. Okay, so this is going to go around in a full loop. So I'm just going to start in right sort of towards the front peak here. And I'm just going to come in, add an edge loop, always tumbling, always be tumbling. as they say. Okay, so here's where it's gonna get interesting. All right, so coming through here. All right, so we're getting into the lips. This is adding subdivisions to both the lips and the eye because it's going in that direction. All right. And we press enter. Excellent. So notice I'm trying to be very as even as possible here. All right. But this allows me to do some things, all right? I could also add a edge loop over here to add a little bit more dimension, right, to the head because it's very blocky. All right, so what we can do now is we can move these in order to create more of a rounded shape to the eye. So for instance, good things to know is that you might want to use the why don't you want to do that? You should be able to use the slide, but it doesn't want to let me with the vertex. All right, we'll just do this by eye, which, you know, sort of going to have to do anyways. So select, and I want to bring this down to create a more rounded shape, and then in, but not that way in. Command C. Excellent. Maybe up a little bit. Okay, so that's how we are creating that shape, is just tumbling around. Oop, that one went a little bit out. Cool. Like I said, lots of tumbling around and making sure nothing seems too weirdly out of place. This guy, I might bring over a little bit. You can just drag those as well. It's a little challenging to sometimes to see where it is, but there you have it. That's a much more eye-shaped eye, and I'll go and check that out in my wireframe. Looks like it's maybe a little bit big, but you can see we'll go in and edit some more. I'll bring this over. All right, so I want to have this be down more. feel like all of these are a little too high. So I'm going to shift click and select them all and just move them down a little bit. Oh, that helps significantly. Nice. Okay, notice that I think these are way out. So M, always going in and checking your markers. Just in a touch. All right, significantly better. Now that guy. Alrighty. Check that out and shaded. Make sure nothing's too crazy. That looks a little wonky. I might just try and move that right on top there. Check it out from the side. Nothing too crazy there. Looks like this edge needs to be pushed back a little bit, I suspect. Okay, so we're gonna go into wireframe again. Let's try that again. So with modeling, it's always this sort of like give and take of, you know, like how things look on the model versus where they are in the reference picture, how they look from one angle versus the other. So you can see here that it looked a little high on the other one, and now it's looking a little low on this one. That might be that the reference is just a little wonky. All right. In the end, of course, you're going to have to do what looks good for your model, but we do want to check it from all angles to make sure we're doing our absolute best. Okay. Side view. That guy looks like it's a little sharp. Let's bring that down. Yeah. So this is that edge loop that I added in. So if I bring this in a touch, that's going to be rounding out the head as well. Okay. Excellent. Look is looking pretty good. All right. So, what do we want to do with the lips? To bring this out, well, let's bring this in a little bit. I think I'm going to add probably an extra edge loop here, right in the center, to create the crease. All right. I could do this two ways. I could extrude it, or I could, you know, put in an extra edge loop. Now, if I went just like to here, that would create a try. I'm trying to create quads. So, let's try this again. Let's bring this one down. This one down. This one down. This one down and in. Excellent, much better. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back in to shaded. Shift click. I'm gonna extrude this in. So extrude, allow just touch, click, extrude it way in. Actually, let's do that from the inside. Extrude. And then I'm going to extrude in to create sort of that center line for the lips. And you're going to see that this looks really weird right now. Again, you could do this with the edge loops. Probably would have been smarter. But hey, that's how we learn. Cool. Grab these and bring them so they're in line with the other ones in the center. I want to line them up so it's sort of at the center line here. I'm gonna scale these together maybe. Trying to create a little bit of bow to the lips. Okay, go into wired mode. Zoom right on in there. And you can see that a fair amount of this needs to move up. So I'm just going to go into marquee mode, select it all, and move it up. Right? Significantly better. And the upper lip looks actually pretty good. All right. But now I need to start creating the lower lip. All right. So that center line is going to be the crease, which is okay. Maybe a little lower. But I'm going to take M for marquee, these, and push them out a little bit. And I think the crease needs to come out just a little bit. Let's see it. Let's focus in. That's the wrong one. Nice. This one I'm going to just bring straight out, round that out a little bit. And I want to make this a little less dramatic. Pulling this out. Maybe pushing that back in a little bit. Too high. All right, so we've got a pretty good eye and a pretty good mouth. We need some nose in here, all right? Let's talk about that. So what we are going to do is extrude. The nose comes in right about in this section. Now you could extrude this section, all that sort of stuff. We could certainly do that. What I think I might want to do is add in an edge loop for the eyebrows, all right? And then extrude that section. So let's do that. Draw lines. Okay, so right about where the brow is, let's go ahead and do that. There we go. That's working a little bit better. Click. No, it is not. Let us see. Okay, so my draw lines tool is not working for some reason. I'll try and figure that out in a minute, but I figured this was a good time to show you another way to add an edge loop. So I can come in here and I can select that full edge loop by shift clicking, all right? And I'm going to use my slide tool. All right, wrong line selected. So anytime I go around a corner, I cannot use this. So let's try a different way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge right here and I'm going to move this up so it's a little bit higher so that the nose is coming out a little bit higher on the face. All right, I'm going to select these two faces. All right. And do you want to do this face as well? You could do this face for the sort of nostril on the side. Let's try it. All right. So I'm going to select those three. I'm going to hit E for extrude. Pull out just a smidge. All right. And I'm going to scale well in. Okay. So this is one of those moments where we are going to, again, this is on the center line, so you'll see that I have these two extra right here. So I'm going to come in, all right, I'm going to delete these two faces. And then move those into the center line. Excellent. Coming in here, we want to create the profile of the nose. So I'm going to pull up until where the nose starts there. This came down to sort of have that. And I'm going to move this in. And let's just go ahead and take this edge and bring it down so that it's more sort of at the bridge of the nose. Okay, check it from the side. All right, so you can see that we have a little bit of a weird line there. All right, so we are going to select that and move it out to create the bridge of the nose. All right. All right. So I'm just sort of establishing where the nose is. All right, so you can see sort of the outline of the nose that I'm doing here. Maybe I'll bring this one out a little bit. Okay, so you can see that overall. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those faces and extrude out again. Okay, so I don't want this one because I want to have a gap between. And I'm going to hit, oops, E for extrude and pull it out. Okay, so pull that out. All right, and of course we're going to do more adjustments. So this edge, is going to come down. All right, this whole bridge here is going to have to come out. This face is going to be pushed out. Nice, good. So this edge is going to want to come in. Let's bring just that guy in to create a little bit of taper to the nose. All right. So you get the overall shape of the nose. Maybe I'll just turn this up a little bit. And you can start to see the nose itself. All right. So in here, you'll see that when I extrude it out, we have extra faces on the inside. So this is very important. We need to go in and delete those extra faces. Again, any excellent. Cool. So that's a pretty dang good nose. Not bad. And we're just going to turn on wired. All right, not absolutely perfect, but pretty dang good. And I can go in and make it a little bit more petite to the side. So M for marquee. All right. And I can go in and lift and bring in. And so on and so forth. Alrighty. So there you have a pretty dang good nose start off. The topology is good. I have absolutely no tries. You can see even this one that is sort of weird shaped is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. Excellent. And then for the ear, what we are going to do is we're going to select. Now the ear goes from the eye to the mouth. It's lower than you think. So what we are going to do is come into the side view. All right, so the ear is going to come and actually be on this lower section, and it can be extended up. Actually, we could take all 6 of these. So I'm going to take all 6 of these. It's going to be at the intersection, sort of the half point here. We're going to hit E to extrude, pull it out just a smidge, and we're going to scale in dramatically. All right, until we get the general shape of the ear wired. see where we're at, and we can move that down. All right. To the overall shape of the ear. All right, looking pretty good. All right, and we are going to hit E to extrude again. So this is the overall shape. So we want to push this diagonal and back. And you'll see it looks vaguely ear-like. All right, so that shape overall. And we can smooth that out just a touch. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to create sort of an overall shape where it's more wedged. So you can see we want it to be out farther at the back and closer to the head at the front. So we are going to select, let's go back in so you can see a little bit better. These two in particular, and this as well, these two. Okay, and we're going to push those in. Maybe these two a little bit more. Okay, so you can see we're creating a little bit more of a wedge shape. I think that one could come back a little bit. And these ears can come forward a little bit. Creating that overall a wedge shell shape to the ear. All right. So that gets significantly better as you tweak it. Let's go ahead and select this guy and just bring it out just a touch me. All right. And finally, what we're going to do is we're going to select these 6 interior shapes and sort of pull in, extrude in the sort of ear canal area. So we're going to select these areas. E to extrude. So I'm going to push in a little bit. I want to add an extra little edge loop in here to add a little bit more roundness, I could do that. I do that. And then we're going to hit E again to create the hole in the ear. That's certainly sort of towards the front. All right, so you can see what's going on there. I might select some edges here or vertexes. And pull these in a little bit. Got a little extra edge there. Let's delete that. All right, pretty decent little ear. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about the base of the head. All right, so and the neck. So talking about the base of the head and the neck. Oops, do I have another extra little guy here? Interesting. I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to select this face and just push it out and make sure it's connected. Okay, seems to be. All right. So, talking about the head and the neck. So the neck, if you look on this, right, the neck meets up right about the line. The front of the neck meets up right around the intersection with the eye with the head, and then it comes out back to the base of the swell of the head. All right, so we need to make a hole that is going to connect there. So looking at this, you can see that this area is exactly where we need to go. All right, so what we are going to do is we are just going to delete these two. All right, and then in order to make sure that we have a more rounded shape, we're going to select individual vertexes and sort of move it. Back a little bit. Giving that rounded sort of socket, which the neck is going to come out of. always tumbling around. So that looks like a pretty good neck socket right there. All right, so now that we've done this, we have the basics, all right? Other things that we can do to add a little bit more detail before we subdivide is we can add a nostril. All right, so I'm gonna move this over just a touch. All right, maybe move this out a little bit. Maybe move this in a touch. All right, so for a nostril, come down, and we're going to select this face, and we are just going to hit E to extrude, push it in, and scale it in. Maybe pull it back out a little bit, just to get that overall shape, and then hit E to extrude again, and then push that in. Bam, we got a nostril. And again, you can sort of play with the shape there. I might come in here, grab that. M for marquee, grab all those, and bring those in. A smidge. Excellent. Okay, so we got a nostril. The eye. To create the eyelid, now if I were going to be doing a CG, like we're going to print these, so I want a solid eye. If not, I would just delete this and put a sphere behind it. So I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to hit E to extrude. I'm going to extrude out to create the eyelid. All right, so I'm going to scale that in a touch so you can see that's sort of like the lid of the eyes. All right, we're going to hit E to extrude again. Okay, push it back in the face, and again we're going to click and scale universally in a little bit. Maybe pulling it over just a smidge, and again, you're going to have to make adjustments. But you can see this, having this lid is going to give me a little bit more edge loops so that like it's going to define the eye a lot more when I subdivide, but also just, you know, create that overall shape. If I wanted more of a brow bone, I could also take this whole area and subdivide it again. So, looking pretty good. I might go ahead and take this vertex right here, just push it out a little bit so that the eye is a little rounded. It's not just flat. And I might move this out a little bit. And these down a little bit into their socket. This one up. All right. Cool. And if I wanted to create more of a lid, I can bring this up. out. Creating more of a softened lid. Push that back a little bit. Excellent. Solid stuff.